Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, I am joined once again with Candace.
Hi.
So, anyways, we're back into the book. Not much time has passed since when Dana was there last. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like a matter of hours, maybe days, have passed.
Yep.
But she meets Rufus. Rufus is looking rough, but he doesn't look in like visible harm. So she's like, "What is happening right now?" And he basically just like throws her in the barn,
Yep.
like just shoves her in there, and she looks up and Alice is hanging.
Yep.
So I guess it must have been days actually, but
I think it ends up being like a couple of I think it's like 3 weeks or
oh,
something
okay,
like that. Yeah. It's not like a super long time, but it's
yeah,
also not like a day or something like that.
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
knew it was very long. I guess I just shrunk that down a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
um yeah. So she sees this and she's like the weirdest thing to me is that while she was torn up, it didn't seem like she was really surprised.
No.
Like that's the scariest part.
Yeah. Yeah. She's not surprised
Mhm.
at all. If she's surprised, it's the way that she's dressed because she looks like she dressed up.
Yeah,
And like when I read that, my heart broke, man.
I
Like
know.
she dressed up like she wears red
Hmm.
with the white apron over top, and like she's wearing like her finest shoes, and I feel like that's her sending a message. Like, we
Yeah.
know that Alice is born free, we know that Alice is more intellectual because she was born free. She's, she has been, educated by Dana. um
Hmm.
and to me, that symbolism is just like so, like, it's subtle but it's so loud. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's wearing the shoes that he bought her, that are fine shoes, the
Hmm.
finest, right, shoes that are made just for her. She's wearing a blood red dress, this beautiful red gown, right, that
Hmm.
she's dressed to the nines, but she's also wearing her apron. Like, she's wearing the finery that
Hmm.
he purchased for her, as well as the raiments that she has to wear because she's a slave.
Yep.
And then she kills herself. And
Hmm.
it's like that red is like all I could think was Alice is saying, no matter what you shower me with,
Hmm.
it will never take place. It'll never bring back the freedom that I lost. It'll
Yeah.
never bring back like the fact that, like, my, that my life has ended, that you have
Hmm.
ended my life, right? And the red to me symbolizes both like the blood on Rufus's hands,
Hmm.
as well as the passion that she has in her heart. And that's like her final, for lack of a better word, that's her final fuck you.
Yep.
That's her final fuck you. And he doesn't even have the courage to cut her down.
I know. And it's like there's just so much that happens right now. And I was so upset reading this because it's like the thing too is that Alice is basically her best friend. Like she doesn't have
Yeah.
any modern friends,
No.
and it's wild to me that like she's made better friends with these people in this time period that she's only been around for like a year
Yeah.
instead of she's lived her whole life like 20 years in the 70s. Well, not all in the 70s, but
Hmm.
and she has not made any real lasting connections.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a part of me too that wonders how much Kevin colors that because of the fact that like I can almost guarantee that most of the people they hang around are probably going to be white because they're
Yeah.
Kevin's friends.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
There's no mention of anybody close to her other than Julie, and then
mhm,
like her aunt and uncle somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I think too, like, there's also this like this real sense of like care and camaraderie
mhm,
that she gets from these women too. It's not even like it's just a simple friendship. Like,
mhm,
and I think that's what makes it like even worse that like Kevin doesn't know Carrie, because Carrie goes on, the defensive for her. Like, Carrie goes to bat for that one lady that like was trying to mess with Dana. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, her and Alice and Sarah and Carrie, like, they take that lady down. You know what I mean? They beat her ass
Mhm,
because she came at Dana away. You know what I mean? Like, that's family. That's more than even just a friendship, right?
mhm,
Those are her people. And, I think with Alice, like, I think the thing that's the most tragic about her is that before, she at least had like her mom and a cabin and a
mhm,
husband and whatever, right? She had a life. But being a slave on Rufus's plantation, but also his mistress, right? Also, in some semblance of a way, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, that alienates her from anybody that she could have had any kind of closeness or bond or relationship with.
Yep.
And it makes her so surly that she can't even like try to construct those separately of who she is on the plantation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like he's like not just claiming her mind and her body for his own, but also her soul, because he taints her in the
Yep.
eyes of these other slaves. You know what I mean? So like he robs her of like literally everything. And then
Mm-hmm.
like Dana's running around like looking everywhere. Where are her children?
Yep. So basically, he told her he sold the kids to punish her because she ran away, um, and tried to get them free because she knew he was never going to free these kids.
Yep.
And she was caught. So Rufus sold their kids, quote unquote.
Yep.
Apparently, he just gave them to his aunt. And like, I, I don't know how he thought this was going to end.
I would love to know how he thought this was going to end.
Yeah.
I think he thought that it's tit for tat, right? This is the way he behaves with Dana.
Yeah.
He's always been an or else
Mm-hmm.
person, even when he was a kid. It's always been about or else. Do this or you better.
Yeah.
Like he's a listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Exactly who he is with Margaret Whalen, that giant big baby we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly who he is as a man. Like he never grows out of
Yeah.
that. He never gets past that. He always remains this like one track, you know, like ride or die is what he expects from every single person, whether
Mm-hmm.
they are a slave or his family, his mother, his father, like whatever. I think Tom is the only person he doesn't expect that from, and that's because he expects indifference from his father.
Mm-hmm.
But like he very much, I think, thought that he was gonna say jump and she was gonna say how high, and that's what I'm saying. Like he wanted to make her sad, he wanted to make her desperate,
Yeah.
and she dresses up in her red dress and is like, "Fuck you."
Yep.
My kids were the last reason for me to be anywhere near you.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked you several times to free them. You have refused.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. It's over. Don't worry about me. I'm gone. I'm going to be with my babies.
Yep.
Like, and something that like really struck me too, I think after I had read it and I kind of like went back and reread these pages, like, what must it be like for Dana
Mm-hmm.
to like be in this barn? She's like, why am I in this barn? And she turns around and sees her own dead face.
Yeah.
Because her and Alice look like twins.
Yeah.
So she turns around and sees her dead face staring back at her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's psychological trauma on a whole other level.
I know.
You know what I mean? Not only is this someone you care for, but it looks like you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like that's, and he's not even sorry. And like, even then, right? Something else that I really like too is the perspective that we get from Dana and like the change of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dana is still a product of 1976, right? There's a lot that she is instructed to or
Mm-hmm.
kind of feels she has to look away from because there's bigger fish to fry, right?
Yeah.
If I got like out of sorts every time somebody didn't realize that me and my white partner were together at like a
Mm-hmm.
Target, I would be angry all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't do that to myself. So when someone is like, excuse me, sir, I'll take you over here. Ma'am, you need to wait. And he's like, that's my partner. We're both getting rung up. Thanks. I know you think you're doing me a favor and you're saying fuck you to her by making her wait, but I'm the one who's paying for these groceries. So thanks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that sweetness that you can
Mm-hmm.
sometimes distill from these moments, right? Like I can't get mad about all of that. And Dana is like that, right? Dana's like, yo, I can't get mad at like every microaggression. I can't get mad at like every, you know, every bit of injustice that I experience that I face. So she goes into it like, oh, you know, Sarah, hey Sarah, Alice is dead. Oh, so we finally killed her. Like Sarah knows what's up.
Yep.
Sarah knows what's up because like again, like once again showing the humanity present in the enslaved people that is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely missing and devoid in the white owners and the
Mm-hmm.
white people in general in this novel, really.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly has mirrored much of my experiences, not all of my experiences. I, you know, have a white dad, for example, who's
Mhm.
obviously not like that, a partner, tons of friends, right? Like there's certainly, I'm not saying in a blanket terms, right?
Yeah.
But in the encounters that I have had, more white people have been meh, whatever about my experiences than have been like, how can we fix it? Let's do something to change it. How can
Yeah.
I assist? How can I be an ally? Whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Dana, like she's in this moment where she's looking at Sarah and she's like, She did this to herself. She climbed up there, she put the noose around her neck, and she killed herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's logical. Sure, she did this to herself. But is that really what fucking happened? No. Someone sold her babies.
Yeah.
He knew what that was going to do. He knew there was a risk.
Yeah, and then every time like Dana says something like, "Oh, you owe her this much to at least raise your kids free." He's like, "Stop saying I killed her." I'm
Yeah.
like, "You did."
But he knows he killed her,
Yeah.
right? Because this is one of those moments that I was like, I need to rewind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah is like, no, he killed her. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I go back to the previous page,
Mm-hmm.
put a little note for myself, right? When Rufus comes back to the barn, right before she goes to see Sarah, Rufus comes back to the barn, right? She has cut Alice down.
Mm-hmm.
She looks up at Rufus and says, "Did she do this to herself?"
Yeah.
And what does he say? Yes, period. To herself, period. Why do you need to herself if she really did it to herself? He says, yep, that's right. She did it to herself. This dude already feels guilty.
Yep.
He knows it is his fault, or he wouldn't be going, oh, yeah, to herself. Sure.
Yep.
Yes, I was not responsible. Like,
literally.
Like, who does that? Who says, no, I did not murder that man on Tuesday? Like,
yeah.
What do you mean on Tuesday? What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
This conditional response. Yes, she did do that to herself. She did put the noose around her neck.
Mm-hmm.
I am the reason she did it, but it's not my fault.
Yeah, totally. I did not pull the last trigger, so
no, nope. And that's what I'm saying too. Like he doesn't learn from his mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear she's gonna run away.
Yeah.
When Dana leaves, right, the previous time before cutting her wrist, she's like, she has to weigh that choice when she makes that decision to go back to her time. Mm-hmm. She's like, there is a chance that Alice is going to run away, but I don't think me staying is going to stop her.
Yeah.
Which is why she goes back in time.
Yeah.
Right? It's why she's like, I'm just going to go. Because there's nothing she can do. That lady was always going to run. She just was.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of Rufus going, what could I do to keep her? Right? I could free these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I didn't free her, she would at least stay with me. Mm-hmm. I'd have at least 18 years with her while she raised these children. And then maybe she'll run off. Maybe then she'll kill herself, whatever. Because if she runs away, now her kid's freedom is on the line, right? Mm-hmm. He's not thinking steps ahead. He's only thinking about what is going to benefit him in that moment and get her to do what he wants her to do. Mm-hmm. And he goes too far because he's an idiot. And she kills herself.
Yep.
And like, to me, that's just her being like, I'm taking my name out of the hat.
Yep.
Like, I'm taking my card off the table. Like, I'm no longer playing the game. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Like, it's so chilling to me how he kind of just like wants to walk away. Like he has the nerve to be both sad and completely unaccountable.
Yep.
Like,
and he's just angry.
Yep. But he's mad at himself. And I mean, that's the symptom here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's always mad at himself. Like, he's always mad at himself. Like, how did all of this kick off? She finds him fucking, struggling for his life because he, put his hands on Alice and Alice's husband went after him. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how this starts, right? With Alice and Rufus. Like, he could have been nice. He could have tried to woo her from a young age. Mm-hmm. But he's always felt entitled to her. So he just took what he wanted and then made it so that, like, her situation got that much worse because she had to depend on him.
Yep.
Like, in what universe would she have not recognized that's what's happening to her? She sees it. Mm-hmm. She sees it happening. She's even the first person to ask, am I a slave? Did that happen to me? Mm-hmm. Why would she ask that? She
Literally.
knows. She's not stupid.
I know.
So, like, it's just crazy how he, like, is just so obsessed with controlling everyone around him when he can barely control himself.
Yep.
Like, ooh.
I know. Oh my God. I was so mad the whole time we were reading it.
I like that they at least, like, so when they have, like, the funeral and everything, mm-hmm. like it's supposed to mean something that he, like, gets, like, a preacher, like a freed man as a preacher. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to mean something that, like, he gets her a fancy,
coffin
or whatever, right? But, like, again, that's just another example that he's not, like, learning anything because she put on her finery just to die.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care. Like, this isn't going to make you look better. This isn't going to help anybody. Like, all of this is just show for him.
Yep. It's just like a memorial for him. It's no one else. Like, nobody, like, Sarah's doesn't, like, anybody that was actually close to Alice and, like, had like was her friend, I don't feel like really benefited from this funeral. Like the funeral
Yep.
is not really for the person that died, it's all for the living. And the
Absolutely.
only person this was for was for Rufus.
Yes. Yes. And then like even the whispers, right? So you have other enslaved people that are
Mhm.
whispering within earshot. She's going to hell. I mean, when you kill yourself, you go to hell, right?
Yeah.
So I know we've kind of broached this before in like previous chapters, but like to me, this was like the moment. So you have this freed man
Hmm.
who is a preacher, and he's talking about, allowing her to go into the afterlife, right?
Hmm.
And clearly this man has a different understanding of faith, because a lot of times, like I know in the Catholic Church, if you commit suicide, priests sometimes won't even do your last rites, right?
Hmm.
They won't even go, because like you forfeit essentially, right? You
Yeah.
can't pass on into heaven now. You've taken a life, you've taken your own life, whatever, there's rules.
Hmm.
So these people are saying, "Oh, you can't kill yourself." These other slaves are saying, "You can't kill yourself. You go to hell." And like to me, that was some heavy shit, because like that is the pinnacle of how religion
Hmm.
and Christianity were used to keep people enslaved.
Hmm.
People these days want to know, why did these slaves stay this way? If it
Hmm.
were me, I would kill myself before I'd be a slave. I'd run away and maybe something bad would happen, but that would be fine because it would be better than being enslaved. But you people these days saying that, like, you would have the wherewithal and the knowledge to do that. When you
Hmm.
are born and raised in slavery and you've been hearing your entire life that people who kill themselves because the kingdom of God is only for those who suffer a little bit,
Yeah.
that's part of the human experience. It's part of being, having faith and believing and having hope. Like, you got to be selfless, you got to be blind. True faith
Hmm.
is belief in the unknown. You don't know if salvation is coming tomorrow, if it's coming in 100 years, man. So think about these slaves, right? It's 19, what, 2025, I think,
Something
or
like.
it's 26 or whatever, right? So it's the 1820s or
Hmm.
1830s. We're 40 years away from the Emancipation Proclamation.
Hmm.
And there are people on this plantation that are going, I get beat to death almost once a month.
Hmm.
I heal just enough to get back out there, and then I get beat again in
Hmm.
front of my children. Two of them have already been sold. I pretty much have nothing to live for. But I've been indoctrinated to this Christian religion that tells me I need to keep working because my great reward is waiting for me. And the more you suffer, the bigger your reward is going to be at the end. So why would you want to kill yourself? If you kill yourself, you forfeit your great reward. You're not going to heaven.
Yeah.
No, if you kill yourself, your master makes less money and then he's
Hmm.
poor, and he doesn't want that. So how do you keep your slaves working? How do you keep this workforce going where you don't have to pay them? How do you keep them believing in like the bullshit? You introduce a benevolent and ever-loving God that freed Jewish people in his
Hmm.
Bible. He freed all kinds of people from the terror and the discrimination they face. And I believe all that's true. Like, we know that the Israelites were slaves, right? We're enslaved. We know that
Hmm.
Egyptians also enslaved their own people. Like, we know there's a history, right? We
Hmm.
know that that's real. But when you are a black person and you are two generations removed from your homelands,
Hmm.
and you've never met your mom because you were sold as a baby into this new place and no one taught you anything, and you basically just have what you've been able to pick up from around you,
Hmm.
and someone tells you there's a chance you can get out of here one day. There's a song, "We Shall Overcome." There are these Negro spirituals. You got to sing. You got to lift up your voice to the heavens so that someone hears you. And
Hmm.
when you die, it's going to be okay because you suffered a lot, and the Lord is going to like lay your body to rest, and it's going to be this final beautiful moment for you. Like, how else? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, you're using God and Jesus
Hmm.
to keep people under your thumb. Like, that is the most nefarious shit I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
This is why we need to talk about slavery. It's not about, oh, let's talk about, how hard it was and it was sad. No, it's a big bummer fest. Sure, it's a big bummer fest.
Hmm.
But like, it's really important to recognize that there was an entire system that was working against an entire body of people. It was a
Hmm.
slow genocide. Something that she says in this book, I think we talked about it briefly too, is like Hitler and the Germans during Nazi Germany, they were trying to do in a few years what slavery had done in like 400.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? With multiple generations of people instead of just one.
Yeah.
And Jewish people still feel the aftershocks of that today. There
Hmm.
are still like people going to fucking, memorials and seeing their grandpa's name on something. You know,
Mhm.
seeing a painting that should belong to their family in the Louvre or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's still happening today.
Yeah.
So the idea that something that was 400 years of racism and slavery is not something that we feel every day, yeah, okay. Guess what we are, though?
Yeah.
And this is exactly how they exercise that control. Like, you're at a funeral for a woman. And that's what I'm saying about the preacher, too. The preacher is a freedman. Is he not there? Is he like, no, I'm not going to, this woman killed herself. I'm not going to bless her so that she can
Mhm.
move on into heaven? No, because I'm sure that freedman recognizes there was a reason
Yeah.
that she took her life. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Hundreds of thousands of Black people died in the transatlantic, right? So many of them died in oceans and seas
Mhm.
en route from Africa to wherever it is that they were being transported. Whole ships throwing babies
Mhm.
into the water so that they will never have to grow up in this nightmare.
Mhm.
Mothers strangling their children and then offing themselves, eating things they knew were poisonous so that they wouldn't have to take another step, so they wouldn't have to be parted from their child, so that their child wouldn't have something horrible happen to them. Like,
Mhm.
there are some slave narratives accounts where like a baby was thrown to some rabid dogs. I mean, like, just atrocity
Yeah.
after atrocity after atrocity. And these people still manage to rise up in 250 years and have a
Mhm.
Black president. And we still want to like have anti-voting rights act.
Yeah.
We still want to make it really difficult for Black people to vote. We want to make it really hard to have another Black president.
Mhm.
We want to, you know, make it really easy for private prisons to flourish so that if I'm walking down the street with a joint in my pocket, I can go to jail for 10 years.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, Martha Stewart's in jail for 5 minutes for insider trading, which is defrauding people on a maximum level, right?
You know what's really
Like,
bothering me recently? Whereas I've been seeing a lot of like white parents like
mhm.
jokingly being like, "Oh, I'm a weed mom" or whatever.
Yep.
And it's been really
Yeah.
upsetting me recently.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's
Big
like,
time.
you can only see white people post that.
Yeah. Well, if I post, listen, like, I have a prescription.
Mhm.
Like, I have a prescription for CBD and THC products.
Mhm.
I had to go to a doctor. I had to pay a ton of money because I have a chronic illness
Mhm.
that right now there's very few treatments for, you
Mhm.
know? And it was a decision that I made because I wanted the protection that
Mhm.
if God forbid somebody ever like busted into my house,
Yeah.
because they can do that. Like, for example, the other day on Twitch, I got doxxed, right?
Mhm.
If somebody had decided to call the police, right, and
Mhm.
do a fake SWAT raid on my house or something like that,
Yeah.
um, that would have resulted in somebody, you know, finding CBD products and other items in my home, right?
Mhm.
So, like, I'm not ashamed of that. Like, it's not something that I am reckless with. It's something I'm extremely responsible about. It's
Mhm.
something that I need in order to manage a very serious condition, you know? But at the same time, do I feel safe? Do I feel like it's just easy, like a lark? No. You know what I mean? I feel safe having a license
Mhm.
and being on file and being registered, but I shouldn't have to go through that just to feel like a modicum of safety for something I'm using for a medical reason. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm out there like, you know, hey guys, like big Rasta energy or something like that, where like, it's something that is, I mean, even Rasta people, I don't think that they should be judged. That's a part of their religion. It's a part of what they
Yeah.
believe. It's a part of their celebration of life, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's a lack of stigma when white people talk about weed than there is when Black people talk about weed,
Mhm.
right? If I tell somebody, oh yeah, you know, I came home the other day, I had a lot of anxiety and I had really horrible endometriosis pain.
Mhm.
I think I might need surgery soon. I use a little bit of THC. Whoa,
Yeah.
stoner. You know what I
I
mean? Like,
know.
all of a sudden you're like lazy and you eat too many snacks and you do nothing. And I'm just like, how did we get here? Right. But like weed mom, nobody's like, oh, let me take her fucking kids from her.
I know. And it's
Nobody's like, call the
I
police.
was seeing her like this lady post and she's like, "Yeah, I had to smoke a blunt to like deal with my kids today." And I was like, and it's
Wow.
fine that you can post that because you're white and no one's going to be
Wow.
like, and then all the comments for other white women be like, "I totally understand. I had to do the same
Yeah.
thing." And I'm like, "Y-
Yeah, but George Floyd gets murdered in cold blood, and people are like, "Well, what drugs was he on? Was he smoking that reefer?"
yeah." And I was like, some
So what? A
ugh,
white mom can get shot because she smoked a blunt to deal with her children. Is she going to get shot?
yeah,
No, right?
literally.
She's harmless. She's fine.
It's just like it keeps popping up for some reason on like I feel like Instagram Reels is doing a lot of the same thing that Facebook does where it shows me
Yeah.
things that actually actively upset me to
Yep.
like see my reaction to it. So I've been
Yep.
getting a couple they like pop up a couple times and I've just been getting progressively angrier.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, right? Like that to me is how like racism happens on a small scale too, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
somebody tells that woman who like thinks it's fine to like smoke weed to deal with her children and like whatever, like I'm not in her house, I don't know your
Yeah.
business, like do you, man? If that's what you feel like is fine and comfortable and safe for you, okay. Like I would never ever ever like I don't like even like doing that in front of people that I know sometimes.
Yeah.
So like it depends on like how you roll. But like you have somebody like that, right? That's like my life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I smoked some weed to better cope with my life and my existence.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, okay, well, this other mom is in jail
Literally.
because somebody found out that she was smoking weed while dealing with her kids, or she was
Mm-hmm.
selling weed to support her family. And she's in jail now for 15 years.
Yeah.
People are getting 6 months for entering our capital and rioting inside and tearing down American flags and assaulting police officers. They're getting 6 months for that.
Mm-hmm.
But a black woman with 3 kids who works 2 jobs to take care of them has a joint in her purse and she goes to jail and has her children taken from her and put in the system. So it's like, when you tell that person, when you tell like, white weed mom, hey, white weed mom, this is crazy. Look at this other woman. How dare you assume you know my life? It's not, oh, I'm going to work to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Every mom should be able to do this,
Yeah.
regardless of what they look like. I will be an activist. Instead, it's, well,
Yeah.
you don't know anything about me. And
Literally.
maybe she did some other stuff that was wrong. And maybe she had a DUI. And maybe she, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, there's no understanding there. Instead, it's a comparison of what your life is like with this other woman. But there
Yeah.
is no comparison,
And it's
or
like
else you too would be in
the thing that
jail.
bothers me too is that you are so comfortable that you can make your entire platform about how you smoke weed.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
you can do that because you're white. But if a black creator or a person of color made that their
Yep.
profile, the amount of backlash they would get and
Yeah.
comments, like it just actively upsets me. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like that lack of equity, right?
mhm,
That inequity there is something that stems from all of this that we're reading about in the book,
yeah.
right? So like even though like the name of it, right, the brand name has changed,
Hmm.
maybe the qualifications have changed. Like nobody was going like, I'm a white woman who smokes weed openly in like 1976, let alone the 1800s, right?
Hmm.
That just wasn't the thing. Um but like the privilege that people experienced at that time compared to their black and brown counterparts, Margaret Whalen going, oh, sometimes I close my eyes, I forget she's black. It's
Yeah.
because they are so steeped in stereotype, and that's something that I still deal with.
Hmm.
When I tell someone I don't listen to hip hop exclusively, they're like, I don't understand, isn't that your culture?
Yeah.
Like that's basically the same ignorance. That's, Candace, if I close my eyes, it's like you're not even black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what kind of thing is that to say or to even think about someone? And instead of questioning that and going, maybe I need to take a closer look at my internalized racism. I mean, even for me, I have moments. I'm a
Mhm.
black person. I have moments where I'm like, that's internalized racism. I read a letter that I wrote to my future self the other day about college, and
Mhm.
I had never smoked weed yet. I didn't smoke weed for the first time, I think, until, I mean, I had tried a little bit like my senior year and my
Mhm.
junior year and stuff, but I didn't actually like realize that this could help my medical condition until far
Mhm.
later in my life, right? Um, so I remember just being like, I don't know why people like this. This isn't for me. It smells really bad and it tastes disgusting. No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Move on, right? Um, but I remember like people being surprised by that. They expected that I would be the weed expert because I'm black and they've listened to a lot of hip hop and they've watched a lot of like Friday movies and therefore I should know all about weed, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, no. And so then everybody gets to be disappointed. They get to be disappointed that I'm not the right kind of black, and I get to be disappointed that there is a right kind of black to these white people I'm hanging out with. And
Mhm.
now I've got to find all new friends.
Yeah. I've been getting that a
Like,
lot at work too, where like people
yeah.
assume because we're like a mixed race couple that we smoke weed or that we
Yeah.
smoke, period.
Yep.
And I'm like, I have never smoked anything my entire life.
Yep. You
Daniel's
don't want a black and mild, Rachel?
I know. I'm
Surely you
like,
do. While you play dice in the alley.
yeah.
Like, obviously.
All right,
What the fuck?
I'm gonna go do some hopscotch with my friends.
Yeah. Like, I
Like I
don't,
don't know, and I don't know if it's like what it is, but I think there's like this like need to categorize
oh,
people,
yeah.
and it's like
Definitely.
there's also like because people aren't getting out of their house, I feel like they're getting worse.
Yeah. They are getting
Like
worse.
profiles like that where they And it's like, one, again, I don't, it's not that I care that this lady smokes weed. That's not the issue. It's I care that she can post about it so openly and so comfortably. Whereas if someone else did and they were a person of color, they would receive so much backlash. And that's the thing that bothers me. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I really feel like the fact that people have been cooped up more is they just have no filter. Like they think there's still like a screen to protect them.
Yeah. Well, I think too that the last presidency helped people talk louder
Hmm.
the more wrong they get,
Yeah.
right? um and I think that kind of approach is kind of what Kevin does to Dana.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he just kind of talks louder. Like he kind of just like gets more intense.
Hmm.
He like doubles down on what he has to say. Like it's a dominance tactic, right? And whenever you find yourself resorting to that, like I feel like, you know, a person who is used to being on the receiving end of that is going to go, hold on a second,
Yeah.
and back up, right? But somebody who like is not used to receiving that is just going to double down to the point where like I've seen people completely flip their argument because somebody disagreed with them, they didn't have a good backup, and
Hmm.
they were like, well, I'm just going to pivot, right? I'm going to pivot so that I don't have to be wrong. I don't
Yeah.
apologize. There's like a lot of that these days, right? I saw somebody discussing how in Hawkeye there's some washing away of how Jewish Kate Bishop is, right? Like Haley Steinfeld, the actress, is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Her character is Jewish. There's a mezuzah on her aunt's apartment. When she walks into it, there's a menorah in the background, but the whole thing's about Christmas, right? And there were a lot of Jewish people that were like, yo, like, what is this trash? And like, I know a lot of my Jewish friends are like, Hanukkah is the least important holiday to us. We don't really care.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if you have this like first openly Jewish, like obviously Jewish Marvel MCU character, right?
Hmm.
That should be something that we celebrate. That should be something that's amazing that you can feel pride in.
Hmm.
And I have Black Panther, so I don't know what it's like to be like, oh damn, all of the, you know, there's like either no portrayal or negative portrayal of my people on screen, right? In the Marvel
Hmm.
universe. Like I've got a lot of good examples, which I feel very happy about.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like I really care that, you know, my friends that are Jewish that are looking for representation had to kind of fight to get that moment.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up. I was like, are other people saying something? And I found my way at an article, and the comments were absolutely deplorable. Like, I have no problem, even if I don't agree. If somebody
Hmm.
is mad about something, like that one lady who went viral like a decade ago for going to Bath and Body Works and having like a really bad time with like the returning a candle or something like that. Like people made like parody videos of it. I don't know if you remember it, but this lady posted like this
It
viral
rings a
like
bell, kind of.
review of Bath and Body
Hmm.
Works that was hilarious, right? And she wasn't trying to be funny. She was dead serious, but it ended up being hilarious because
Hmm.
people were just like, what is this lady's problem? Um so like when that happened, it was okay to laugh, but there are also people who like act like that all the time.
Yeah.
There are people who just live their whole lives like that. Like I'm sure that lady hasn't changed. She has no reason to. People are laughing at it. And I think the more that that happens and the more that they saw like Donald Trump behaving that way and
Hmm.
acting out and acting a fool, getting crazy. I mean, like you can't walk into a black owned store where a black person is behind the counter. It's obvious that it's their shop, and then say that you want to speak to a manager because it's impossible for a black person to own a business. Like you can't say that and then just be like, nothing's going to happen to me.
You know what
Like
happened?
these people that get surprised when they get like videotaped being racist. I'm
Yeah.
just like,
You know what happened to me yesterday? I just thought about this too while we're talking
mm-hmm,
about this. I wore a beanie yesterday,
okay,
and someone
cute.
said to me, I know I'm a big beanie person.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said to me, and I can't even remember who said it because I started drinking. And so someone said to me yesterday
Appropriate response.
that I looked like I should be part of the insurrection with my beanie on because I was wearing all black and a beanie.
I don't like
I
that.
know. And I'm like, I know it's because I'm white, like obviously. So, but it's like, I, I didn't know I didn't know what to do, and so I just someone said that, and I just drank more, and I don't remember who said it because I had already started drinking.
People can't see me, but I have a really big frown on my
I
face.
know.
I'm not pleased.
I just, I didn't know what to do with that.
This is what I'm saying, man. Like
People are getting too comfortable.
shit's getting out of control.
I know.
We gotta put the cat back in the box.
I know.
We gotta rewind a few years, be a little more polite. Like I am over it. Like you know that things are grim when people are talking about like my body, my choice, and it's not abortion. It's actually just a vaccine.
Yeah.
And you have to get vaccines to be able to go to a public school like normally,
Yeah.
just not a COVID vaccine. And now they're like, well, you can't mandate that everybody has to get a vaccine. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure I can't go to college without an MMR shot, right?
Right.
Right. I can't stay in a door without a meningitis shot, right? Right. I mean, like the concept of rules. Like I feel like we've worked so hard to get rules
Mhm.
in place that are at least mostly agreeable. And I feel like rules are something now that people are just like, throw them in the garbage.
I
There
know.
should be no rules, but there's always going to be rules for people of color and people that are LGBTQIA, people that are even slightly different from the norm. There's always going to be rules for
Yeah.
you, no matter what, because the people in charge don't want rules for themselves. You
Yep.
know, that's really what it's about. Like, someone said, oh, I had posted about, Kyle Rittenhouse getting acquitted, right, for shooting people.
Mhm.
And I was like, so what happens if I go out there and I shoot somebody because I feel scared? In Florida, we have a stand your ground rule. So
Mhm.
technically, if I feel threatened and terrified by someone and terrorized, I can shoot them and quote unquote nothing should happen to me.
Yeah.
Is that real for me? I don't think so. I
No.
certainly don't want to test it, but there are plenty of white people that feel perfectly fine testing it and have tested it and have not gone to jail. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's like this double standard that people don't want to see because the second that you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And it changes how you have to kind of live your life, or it makes you a callous person. Like you have to sign on to be someone who genuinely and actively does not care about how your actions affect other people. And to me, like I feel like it's very hard to come back from that
I know. And
as a
it's
human.
like the thing too, I feel like everyone's really comfortable like letting those intrusive thoughts just come out of their mouths.
Yeah.
I just
They don't even take a minute.
I know. I'm like
Yeah.
you like it's one thing to think it, it's very different to act on it and say it. Like,
Yep.
what?
I mean, you have no idea how many people have said really bonkers racist stuff
Yeah.
or homophobic stuff on Facebook and then are surprised when I unfriend them.
Yeah.
Or they're surprised when I don't agree. And I write, hey, so this person was my friend. Clearly they are not my friend, or they wouldn't be posting this crazy bananas nonsense. But this is how I feel. And they're like, how dare you? You know what I
I
mean? Like
know.
they get like outraged that I don't agree with their racism.
I have so many people blocked.
Yeah.
Sometimes like once a year I'll look at my block list and I'll be like I decide if they stay on the block list or not.
Yeah.
And I literally had someone where I had them during the election, I had them muted. And then it was like I'll just take a time out. You know, I'm
Hmm.
like maybe once this is all over, it'll be
Benefit
fine.
of the doubt.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't want to like turn people off because maybe they don't know any better. Maybe that's their bubble,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And immediately I decided they got on a long term. I like they're not blocked, but they are successfully muted, so I don't see anything they post ever. So Rufus went and brought his kids home, uh, and we find out Dana had only been gone for 4 months.
Hmm.
So Dana tries to talk to Rufus into freeing everyone in his will, and he's like, "If I did, I would literally never tell you because you would just kill me." And like,
Like that's like the funniest bit of like banter that
yeah,
I've ever heard between them because it's like not banter at all and it's extra deadly serious.
yeah,
But he's like, ha ha ha, you would kill me. And she's like,
oh,
I hadn't even thought of that.
yeah,
But now
yeah,
that you say it, it does sound reasonable.
yeah. She's like, hmm,
I was saying that out of a genuine care for the well being of the people on this plantation. But now I see that that actually would help everybody if I killed you.
yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Well,
The funny thing is too is like Dana wrote a lot of his letters. She could have written everyone free in a will had there been any time to plan this.
I think over time she could have, but like later when he does free his children and she goes with him into town,
Yeah.
there is a process. There's a notary
Yeah.
that he has to go and see. So that's the one caveat I think. Like I agree that she probably could have forged free papers,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't have been on file with the government.
Yeah. That's fair.
That's like the one thing. And to me, I don't know honestly what's worse. Is it worse to have forged free papers and be found out, or is it like worse to just like try to escape
Mhm.
and hope to not get caught? You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
don't know like which carried the harsher punishment because I feel like if you just like run and they catch you, that's going to be pretty bad.
Mhm.
But if they run, they catch you, you say, "Oh no, I have free papers." They check and you don't have free papers, to me, that would carry a more severe sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like worse would happen to you, like your fingers get cut off or something like that, which like was definitely a tactic.
Yeah.
They would only do like the tips so that you could still like work, but you couldn't write, like you couldn't do certain things. Like they would maim you instead of actually harming you, because then you wouldn't be able to be an asset anymore.
Yeah.
Which like taking pieces of people's bodies, like how that one guy's ears got cut off, like that's some fucking, that's like some, like there are actual horror movies like Hostel that are about that.
Yeah.
About people just slowly amputating you but leaving you alive. Like there are horror movies about that happening to young white co-eds in Czechoslovakia somewhere. And like we don't think it was a big deal that it happened to men, women, and children.
Yeah.
Millions of them.
Literally.
Like I'm pretty sure that if we really thought about it, if we really just stopped to take time and be like, okay, but like what's the what actually happened? Like what's the fallout? Like what are people dealing with now? How far away are we? How far removed are we from this? You know what I mean? And I feel like this book is very much a study on how that kind of is able to be quantified, right? To think about how people understood their lives, because again, even for Rufus, he's not some gentry, he's not some fancy nobleman, he's not high society. Like he's got a bullshit house on some bullshit land, and the only thing he has are these people. Like it's all about status and a lack of caring about anybody other than yourself and the opinions of people that you look up to and respect. Like that's literally it. That's all that is keeping these people enslaved. Like that's so sad to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we also get oh sorry.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say, like, he tells her that he's like had nightmares about her, and I'm like, shut up.
I know. I'm like, I don't care. And he's like, I'm worried you're gonna leave me,
dude. Oh my god.
And then
I have nightmares that you're gonna leave me. Don't leave me, baby. Don't leave me. I'm like, ew.
I know. I'm disgusted.
Smarten up. Like he wants to be like this big tough bitch, but then at the same time he's like fucking like me, mama, don't leave me.
I know.
You're like sort of my mom, but also my biggest crush at the same time.
I know.
Baby. Like, don't leave me.
Freud sleeping soundly in his grave.
Listen, no.
Yeah.
No.
All right, everybody, we have to pause there because we're going to get into the tasty tidbits next week, and there's no way I can cut it down, so we got to do it, okay? We're just going to pause here. Next week, we are going to continue on with Kindred, and that will be the last episode of Kindred next week, so make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, I'm very, very excited. Yeah, a lot to talk about, and I know you guys are going to love it. But thank you all so much for listening. If you want some more Barely Bookish content, please consider joining the Patreon. Every single month, I release an exclusive Patreon episode, plus you get the episodes 2 days early. So if you simply cannot wait to hear me and Candace talk about this next round, you can join the Patreon for as low as $1 a month. That $1, everything's donation based, so the $1 a month tier does get you the same benefits as, like the $5 a month tier. So it's whatever you feel like contributing, and I appreciate it no matter what you do. But yeah, very, very excited. Please join in because oh boy, are we gonna have a lot to say next week. If you want to find me, I'm at Barely Bookish on literally everything. Yeah. All right, you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the same place, same time next Wednesday. Our logo was designed by my little sibling Sarah. Our theme song was by Raphael Crux on freepd.com. And I'll catch y'all later. Bye.